This is James Featherstone for Out for the Count TV. We're joined once again by Nyall. How you doing, Nyall?
Yeah, all good yourself.
Yeah, all good, thank you, mate. So you're fighting in 2 weeks' time against Hector Garcia Dolores on GBM's Icebreaker in Coventry, March the 9th. How are you feeling going into this fight?
All right, not stressed. Just wanna make sure, mate. Wanna make sure I do a job. Just wanna, yeah, make sure I do a job. I know a lot of people are gonna see it. So yeah, just wanna do a job on the geezer.
Yeah, and you're going up against another experienced opponent, but stylistically, what do you know about Dolores?
Uh, I know he comes forward, and well, being a Mexican, you would assume that's what he's gonna do. So not much. I just know he comes forward. He's got 5 KOs, 8 wins, so he can clearly punch. Clearly doesn't hit like hit like a child. So um, I'm expecting him to come forward and give it a go. But that's what I want. I don't want anyone to come and do Operation Turtle. Like I'm sick of that. I'm really sick of that. So I'm looking forward to it. To be honest with you, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just chilled, getting on with training, and yeah.
Yeah, when I found out that you'd be fighting Dolores, I watched his most recent bout with Kevin Crespo, and one of the things I noticed, he's got like a bit of a potential vulnerability to being countered. Like he often leaves his hands quite low. Is that something you've noticed? And is it something that you're aiming to capitalize on?
I did watch that. I watched like 4 rounds of it, and I just thought, yeah, I think I've seen enough. I don't want to watch too much stuff because then I feel like I start overthinking things, and and I just need to go in there and be me. I had a little look. Yeah, I think I could time his jab, come over with that right hand, but. Yeah, I'm just gonna go in there and do me. Just go in there, tump up his body, and yeah, see what else I can get going.
Yeah. And at the time of your last fight against Darwin Martinez, you said he was your toughest fight yet. Does Hector Garcia Dolores, does he pose a bigger threat?
Um, I mean, I think he could pose a bigger threat. I think he's got like 4 of his KOs are in like the first round, and then I think the other one's in the third. So he poses, he probably does pose the same level of threat. I feel like Darwin Martinez tries to take your head off a bit more than I feel like your man's a better boxer. Garcia, I think he's a better boxer. So I think also this is an 8 rounder as well, not a 6 rounder. So I think it poses the same level of risk as the last one, if I'm honest with you. I'd say the same level really.
So a minute ago, you just mentioned that it's your first 8 rounder as a pro, and I know you love a good knockout, but are you ready if the fight does go the distance? And how have you prepared for the step up in rounds?
Yeah, I'm sweet for 8 rounds. I would have done 10 rounds. I was hoping to get the English champ, Zahid Hussein, so I would have done 10 rounds. My fitness is there, my fitness is there. So 8 rounds, I'm happy with doing 8 rounds. Obviously, I'm looking for the knockout, but if it goes the
Yeah.
8 round distance, I can do the 8 round distance. I could have done it in my last fight, so now I'm ready for that.
Yeah, nice one. And we previously mentioned this fight is on GBM Sports, who have put on some brilliant shows up north. They're obviously trying to expand further afield now. How did the link up with Izzy Asif and GBM come about, and what do you make of the progress that they've made in the last few years?
Well, I know one of the co-founders is the Skies matchmaker. So obviously he's seen me on my last fight and he was impressed. I know Izzy's heard a bit about me from a few people. So yeah, I was hoping to be on another Sky show in Wolverhampton in April. Obviously, I don't think that's happening anymore. So I've managed to get on the GBM show instead, and yeah, they're looking to get me on the roster as well. So hopefully that comes about. And yeah, they've just heard word of mouth really. I think they've just heard about me, and yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of like the level of production on the shows, the cards from top to bottom, how
Oh
impressed have
yeah,
you
the
been?
shows are class. The shows are really good. I've watched a few of their shows before I even realized I was gonna be on there. I've watched a few of their shows. I mean, my stablemate Scott, but he was supposed to headline. I'm not sure if Danny Quartermain's headlining now, but he when he mentioned that he's on a GBM show, I said, "Oh, they're really good shows they are." So I'm excited to be on one myself now and carry on carry on being on there. I reckon they'll get a TV deal sooner or later. The shows
Yeah,
are really good, man. I'm happy to be on there.
yeah, and obviously the GBM shows are live streamed on TalkSport Boxing, so that's going to bring a whole load of eyes to you. Does that sort of does that spur you on to put on a bit more of a performance in that aspect?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. People are gonna see on YouTube, Talk Sport. A lot of people are gonna see it. So I just want to make sure that it's a good performance, which I know that's what I'm gonna do. Like this, I can't afford to have any slip ups or bad performances. Yeah, so I'm just
Yeah,
trying to put on a
and
good performance.
yeah, and before this fight, you'd obviously fought on Sky, but you were more or less a free agent in terms of like a promoter. Have you signed a multi-fight deal with GBM, or is it something both parties are considering after the fight?
It's yeah, I just don't really know what I can say, but
Yeah,
should be an announcement soon, sooner or later.
brilliant. Well, we'll look forward to that one then, definitely.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, you've already mentioned Zahid Hussein, and the fact that you've been wanting this shot at his English title for a while. What's the reason that it hasn't happened, and how frustrating is it that these fights, this fight hasn't happened, and how do you stay mentally motivated and resilient, when facing these kind of setbacks?
From what I heard, his team said no. I don't know if he said no, but his team definitely said no. Am I gonna call them pussies for it? Not really, because at the end of the day, it is 3 weeks notice, so I'm not gonna bash them for it. It's 3 weeks notice, and I'm not a mandatory challenger. He wants to climb up the ranks a bit more, and I'm a big risk, so I'm not gonna bash him too hard. Maybe if it was a bit more notice, then they might have said yeah. I still think they would have said no, but since it's 3 weeks notice, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Um, in terms of how I feel mentally, I'm not too fussed. Like I know titles will come. I just need to get past this fight, and I'm calling. I'm calling for that fight next. So I'm just happy to be on the show, and I've been talking, like I said, been talking to GBM. Hopefully, an announcement on it soon. And it's things are moving in the positive direction. So I don't really care, to be honest. Like it hasn't annoyed me too much. I got a good opponent. It's on a good show. GBM, I haven't talked to GBM. Things are. I still got positive things going on. So to be honest with you, it hasn't annoyed me too much. I'm definitely calling for it next though, but it
Yeah.
hasn't bothered me. It hasn't bothered me too much. It is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're still going to be calling for it after this. I mean,
Yeah, without a doubt. I still want titles, so
yeah,
you know.
brilliant, brilliant. So, I think the last time we spoke, we were talking about all the big cards out in Saudi and whatnot. And there's been a few shows since then. What do you make of the Saudi emergence in boxing, and how beneficial do you think it's been for the sport?
I definitely think it's beneficial. It's making fights happen what wouldn't have happened. So I definitely think it's beneficial. At the same time, it's probably gonna go to a few people's heads money wise, because then they're gonna get big money and be like, well, I'm not fighting again unless it's for that type of money, which is greedy. But on the whole, it for big time fights, it's definitely good for boxing. I don't really care about the oh yeah, but it's taking the sport away from the UK and America. Like, okay, but those fights wouldn't have happened anyway. So I mean, and fights are still happening. You got Catchall, what's his name? Sorry, Taylor, Catchall Taylor.
Yeah,
You got that
yeah,
soon, and that's happening in the UK. It's not taking away fights from the UK. So I think that's nonsense. The only thing that I can say is it's going to make people a bit greedy. That's the
yeah.
only downside I can say. Apart from that, it's definitely, I think it's good for boxing.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And you mentioned Taylor Catterall. That is something I do want to ask you about in a second. But keeping on with the Saudi sort of theme, the next card is obviously AJ versus Ngannou on the 8th of March. It's a day before your fight. Will you be watching that card and what's your predictions? Do you think Ngannou can pull off another shock performance
No,
or do you know?
no, I think AJ will smack him up. I think AJ will do what Tyson Fury should have done, but he's just an idiot, and he decided to
Yeah.
embarrass boxing. So, but whatever. I do think if Fury was focused and wasn't being an idiot, he would have slapped up Ngannou anyway. But obviously, he didn't think my man was going to be that good. But I think obviously Joshua's seen Ngannou's performance, so he knows that he needs to actually focus. But I think Joshua would have done that focus anyway. He doesn't seem like the type of person to just mess about anyway. So I think Joshua would do what Fury didn't do, and I think he'll stop him. I reckon about 5-6. I'm saying about around 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think the benefit that Joshua's got going into this is Fury's almost written the blueprints of how not to fight Ngannou. So
Mm,
he's got something to go on, hasn't he, going into the fight?
yeah.
Yeah. So aside from the fights in Saudi, we've obviously got a few tasty domestic fights. One that you've just mentioned, Catterall versus Taylor. What do you make of the build up to that fight, and how do you see that one panning out?
Quite funny. I don't really watch press conferences to be honest with you, but I watched a bit of this one and it was quite funny. It was
Yeah,
quite funny. So I think to be honest with you, I still think Josh Taylor's a good fighter, but I don't think he's got what he had. How can I put it? He doesn't have don't have much left. I think like he's getting up there in age a bit. He's still for some reason squeezing down to super lightweight after he said he's gonna make welterweight. For some reason, he's still doing super lightweight and he can barely make it. So I think Catchall will win on points. I don't think he's gonna knock him out. He's saying to knock him out. I don't think he's gonna knock him out. He couldn't knock out Jorge Linares, and he was shot. So, but I think Catchall will win. I still think he'll win. I just don't think Josh Taylor has. He could still be a good fighter. I mean, like he should move to welterweight, like he said, see what he can do. But at super lightweight, I don't think he can do anything there. So yeah,
yeah. I think it shocked a lot of fans when he said that he'd be doing the fight at 140. Having said in his previous two
yeah.
fights that he's struggling to make the weight. What what if you had to hazard a guess? But why do you think he has done the fight at 140?
I think he knows that if it was at 147 and he won, people aren't gonna give him the credit. I wouldn't. Me personally, I wouldn't. If he beat Catcher at 147, it's not the same. It's not because one or four titles was on the line at 140, which Catchall can make. So why is Catchall gonna disadvantage himself and go up to welterweight when he doesn't need to. So that's what I think he knows that if he was to, I don't think he'll win anyway. But if he obviously he thinks he's gonna win, but I think he thinks if he wins at welterweight, people won't give him the same credit because,
Yeah,
as I just said, I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that is definitely going to be one to watch out for, that fight, I think.
I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be as exciting as the first one. I think the atmosphere will. I don't know. I'll have to see how they come out. I don't know.
Y-
It depends
Yeah,
because
yeah,
Josh Taylor's not the same fighter that he was. Catchall's always just careful, counter, just so. I reckon it's not going to be as good as the first one, but you never know
yeah.
because I know the crowd's going to be, so they might spur on the fighters. So I think we'll have to wait and see. I reckon.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And also, there's been Adam Azim's been ordered to face Dalton Smith for the EBU European title. Obviously, Dalton Smith's
Yeah.
next fight is up against Zepeda. But do you think it's a fight we'll see soon, or do you think it's better off, waiting down the line and maybe get a world title involved?
I don't think that fight happens soon. I
Yeah,
don't think it's. I don't. I just don't think it's gonna happen soon. I I ain't gonna say why, but I don't think it's gonna happen soon. Um, I mean, if you think about it, it would be better to wait, I guess, like because it would be a much bigger fight, with bigger titles on the line, but at the same time, they've already got the European and the British. It would be a big fight now as well. It could be bigger, but I don't think. I just don't think it will happen just yet. Anyway, I think it will happen. I just don't think it will happen just yet, though.
yeah. One thing I'm worried about is if it turns into a bit of a Corn Brooks situation.
I don't think it will. I think it will definitely happen. I do think it will definitely happen. They're both headed towards world titles. So I do think it will definitely happen, but I don't think it will happen just yet. Maybe a few more years.
Yeah. If hypothetically the fight was to happen, who would you pick to win the fight
But right now,
right now? Yeah,
uh, oh, that's tricky one.
I'm going to hold you
I
to this one, Niall.
I think I'm gonna have to say Dalton.
Yeah, yeah, I'd
I
agree. I
think I'd
think
say Dalton.
yeah, he's been in with a tougher opposition at the minute. He's probably got more
Yeah,
experience,
he's
and
got
that's the
more
other reason.
experience.
Yeah,
He's got more
yeah.
experience.
It is quite early on in Adam Azim's career for a fight like that, I'd
Mm.
say.
Yeah,
But nonetheless,
I'd definitely say Dalton at the minute, but yeah, I mean, in a few more years, yeah, I think Adam's a really good fighter now. I just think Dalton's a better fighter right at this stage of their careers.
yeah,
And
I'd have
like
to
you said,
agree.
he's been in harder fights. He's got more experience.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that one pans out. Yeah, well, listen, it's been brilliant catching up with you, Niall. Obviously, we've got your fight coming up March the 9th. Good
Yeah.
luck for the fight, and hopefully we'll catch you after.
Yeah, man. I'll see you there. I'll see you there, man.
Top man. Just before I let you go, have you got a message for the fans coming to see you?
Well, anyone who's there, they know that they're in for a treat when they see my fight, because it will be whether it lasts a round, whether it lasts 4, 8, it's gonna be a barnstormer. So anyone coming to see me, thank you for coming, and you're in for a treat.
Top man.